Hello, everybody. It's me. We go live, and I'm like, oh, I look so tired. But you're used to me looking tired, so here I am. Um, here I am, beaming in. It is 10:23 on Saturday, January 31st. And tonight might be a short episode because, as ever, I'm really tired. But I'm here, and I wanted to just offer a few thoughts. Yay! Hello to everyone. Oh, someone said hi, fam, because we're a community. I love it. Okay, I'm sorry. I will not vent. At any rate, I wanted to just offer a few thoughts that I've been thinking about that relate to, again, something that I saw online about someone at the top of ICE announcing that ICE agents had even broader permission to arrest people without a warrant, or to basically go after people without any kind of warrant for any kind of reason. Yes, and Rosie is actually doing a little peeping, which is good. Good for you, baby. That's what I wanted to talk about because as ever, I think we talk about things like constitutional rights and the rule of law and the Bill of Rights and even the Constitution itself. And we think about those things as sort of hovering above us in the ether as though they're not real or as though they have no real heft. And that's what I wanted to talk about really briefly tonight, because it's easy to forget, given all of the violations that we're seeing on a daily basis. It's easy to forget what the Constitution is supposed to be, what the Bill of Rights is supposed to be, and what we're watching, the violation of them. I see someone saying that the judge who released Liam Ramos quoted the list of grievances from the Declaration of Independence. I did that at some point. One of the nights that I've been doing this, I did that because it's a little alarming when you read. I encourage all of you, go find the Declaration of Independence, look at the 19 grievances. They will be shockingly familiar to you. But tonight I want to talk a little about the Constitution. So here's the thing. When it was created, it's literally the framework of a government. It's not fleshed out. It's, if you think about what it's supposed to do, it's remarkably brief. It really is a framework of a government. And the idea was that once the government went into play, the nature of it, the character of it, the tone of it would be fleshed out. So that was the general idea. However, that said, because the Constitution was supposed to be like a real framework of a government, a new kind of government, not a monarchy like the rest of the world, different kind of government, democratic republic, grounded on the people to a much greater degree than monarchies were, because it was an experimental government, and they called it that all the time, the experiment. Because it was an experimental government, the Constitution had particular importance. One of the things that some of them worried about, actually, Alexander Hamilton is one of the people who worried about this a lot. He thought, what will make people understand that the Constitution isn't just another piece of legislation? That a bunch of people got together, looks like a legislature, did something, created a document. Oh, good, it's another piece of legislation. He worried about that, and others worried about that, because the Constitution was supposed to be something different. It was supposed to be like a foundational document. But how do you convince people that a document created by, a convention rather than an ongoing legislature, but how do you convince people that that's a different kind of thing, right? And that was a concern particularly in the the founding era sort of going on into the 19th century, are people going to understand that the Constitution is not just a normal law, not just a normal legislative act, but it's supposed to stand above. It's supposed to be formative in every way. That was a thing that they worried about. And that's, it continued on for a while. And they also, you can amend the Constitution. So they never assumed, they did not assume that it would be created and then be, sort of in marble for all time. They really didn't assume that whatever they were doing at the Constitutional Convention was going to be enough going on forever into the future. So the amendment process is there. But still, Constitution is supposed to be a concrete document that sketches out the frame of a new government, like a blueprint. Think of it like a government blueprint. That's how concrete and pragmatic it was. So that's step number one. Step number two is, some people say, what you just created there, we don't know how it's going to work or if it's going to work, but what you just created there looks frighteningly powerful to us who are used to thinking about our states as our country, right? Thomas Jefferson called Virginia my country well into the 1790s. So if you're in that world and you see this new national government coming, that's really scary. So actually, as Heather and I mentioned this morning, when we were talking this morning, the Bill of Rights is supposed to be kind of a shield. It's supposed to be a way of protecting people against scary new big government, right? So if you go back and I encourage people all the time to go read the founding documents, go read the Constitution, and particularly read the Bill of Rights, folks. So the Bill of Rights is saying, okay, big scary government, but we still have freedom of speech. We still have freedom of religion. You can't take that away from us. There's a shield. Here are the things we still have, even though we put this new government into effect. These things are not just parchment documents. They're very real. They always were meant to be. And that's why even to this day, right, when people take public office, and I'm not going to list all the kinds of public officials that do or don't take an oath. But even today, right, when you become a member of Congress, when you become the president of the United States, you swear an oath. And that's a really old-fashioned thing to us, right? Again, which looks like, ancient parchment document and swearing an oath. But certainly at the beginning, that was a serious thing. And it's supposed to be a serious thing, that you're swearing and swearing your character, and depending on what you're swearing on, your belief in religion, swearing before your God, you're swearing that you're going to protect the Constitution. That's one of the things that oath says. Think about that for a minute. What the oath of office, the American people put someone in office, and before that person can start, they have to put their hand on whatever religious document, Bible, Quran, whatever, that they abide by, and swear an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution. Because that's the thing that, number one, binds us together. It's like a pact that we have with each other. And we can, and always have, argue about, like, how do we interpret the pact? What does the pact actually say? I think it means this thing. I think it means this thing. Oh, here's an amendment that changes what it means. It's not as though ever that it has been clearly defined, but the general idea is that it is a pact between all of us. It is the thing that makes our nation, which means if you're just blindly violating it, you are violating the pact that we all have with each other that makes this a nation. Same thing if you're violating fundamental rights guaranteed to us in the Bill of Rights. And as I think I mentioned here, maybe yesterday, I don't know, I'm talking so much recently, I'm now forgetting where I say things, but Um, the Constitution itself may not have been ratified if people had not agreed to attach a Bill of Rights to it to protect people against the scary big new government, right? So those things go together. And the Bill of Rights then is a part of the Constitution. It's not like an extra bonus thing. It's part of the Constitution. So if you're violating basic rights, once again, you're violating a fundamental thing that makes us as a nation. And that's what we're seeing over and over and over again. And at this point, it's not even just, although this in and of itself would be horrible, right? It's not even just that folks related to the regime are violating the Constitution. That would be bad enough. It's that they don't care if they're violating the Constitution. It's that the Constitution is a pesky thing that gets in their way, which in essence means they have broken the pact that binds us together as a nation. They don't care about the fact that we are bound together as a nation, despite the fact that someone says social contract, yes. Despite the fact that we disagree, that we've had throughout our entire history, we have mistreated, ignored, neglected, punished. We have not dealt well with inclusion within that pact. All of that said, the pact still matters. And if there are people with political power who basically are saying, we don't care about the pact, and hey, look at this, we don't care about your rights too. Those fundamental rights, the fundamental things that we are protected against the government that are ours, and not just individually, all of ours. We the people, all of ours, we have those rights. So for example, I was reading earlier today, I guess this is what started me off this evening. I was reading earlier today, as I mentioned at the outset, that someone at the top of ICE said, hey, guess what? ICE agents no longer need a warrant. They no longer need a warrant to go after people. They no longer need a warrant to arrest people. Warrants are kind of pesky. Well, go read the Fourth Amendment about search and seizure and the ways in which we are supposed to be protected against that kind of unregulated search and seizure. Now, that's an idea that was born of a people who went through a revolution and they saw a lot of search and seizure. They built it into our founding document. So when someone says, warrants, who needs warrants? We're just going to go after the people we want to go after because they're the people we want to go after. And that's that. Once again, those people are tossing off our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, the things that bind us together as a nation, are breaking, if they ever took an oath, breaking every oath they took, and seemingly really not giving a damn about the fact that they're violating it. And the reason I'm mentioning this tonight is because I think it can be easy, particularly given a lot of the conversation one hears out in the world about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It can be easy to get lost in a kind of legalistic way of understanding what it is, which is understandable. That, as I said at the beginning, that is some kind of document that, floats above us and has meaning, and we shall debate the meaning, and, lawyers and professors shall debate the meaning. But my point here is, it's a real thing. It's a contract. It's not just a lawyerly bunch of things to debate. It's what makes us come together as a nation. And it preserves rights that we are all due within this nation. It's a real thing. And so what we're watching isn't just some highfalutin, technical, legalistic violation. It's a fundamental violation of the absolute things that bring us together as a nation. As someone just said, the social contract that binds us together. So it means more than it might seem to mean, right? It gets down to the roots of who we are. And the violation is upsetting in and of itself. Equally, if not more upsetting, is we don't give a damn. We're going to do whatever we want. Constitution, Bill of Rights, whatever. Right? We're guys with guns hiding our faces because we know that the thing that we're doing is improper, immoral, violent, brutal, and bad. So we don't want you to know who we are because we know we're doing brutal, bad things, and we're going to do them anyway because we don't care, because the people who have power want us to do these things. I want us to not get lost in that brutality. I want us to not forget what is normal for the Constitution. Even if people violate it over the course of our history, it's still there. It's a thing being violated. And it's something that people, all kinds of marginalized people, they have been able to point to the Constitution to get and demand their rights. That's what it is, right? All throughout, particularly the 19th century, people could say, yeah, you guys are all about whatever you talk about. I read the Declaration. We know the Constitution. What about us? Really? Are you going to say out to us bluntly, it doesn't apply to us? And at least sometimes, for some people, that's a problem. Right now, we are all in the mix of people who are being told that none of that matters and none of us matter, and they can do whatever they want. So as we are doing whatever we're doing, yes, someone just said it's a good point, saying we don't need warrants is a confession of criminal intent. Right? At this point, I'm sure you guys must have the response that I have sometimes, that I read something and some part of me goes, what? Like, how? Why? How is this person saying this thing that is so like beyond wrong, immoral, unconstitutional, violent, bad? And they're just admitting it. And hey, this is what we're going to do now. Yeah. So, and I see you guys are asking really good questions. So here's the question, so good. Now, what do we do? I do not have the absolute answer to that question, but what I do know is, in the same way that every night I come on here and I say that we, the people, the community of us, the community that comes here every night to talk about this, to wrestle with this, we, the people, have to remember that that contract is ours. We own the government. We own the nation. We own the Constitution. It's ours. And it's so easy to forget that. And we can't forget it. So as we're resisting, as we're coming together, as we're trying to help each other and our neighbors in whatever way we want to do, we need to remember and undergird everything that we're doing with that basic assumption. Reminding ourselves we're not demanding something that isn't ours. We're not asking for something that we're not due. We're not pushing back against something that has validity. We're not being, greedy and wanting X, Y, and Z. No, it's ours. The government is ours. The Constitution is aimed at we, the people. It's supposed to apply to the nation, not just to the government, not just, I saw us flitting by, you guys talk so quickly here in the comments, I miss things. I saw someone that said, for the elite and rich, but what about the rest of us? Well, no, it's supposed to apply to the rest of us. I mean, right now we're in a moment where wealthy people are somehow assuming that they're going to coast on by all this, and that the rest of us somehow are going to get, oh, well, we'll see what happens to them. They can have their piece of chicken and a sprig of broccoli and one doll and like live their lives. No, what we're watching now is not going to be contained in that way. I feel like, I feel like it feels like the most obvious thing that you may think that these folks aren't, and I'm talking now about elite folk, wealthy folk, they may think that they're immune to everything that's going on, and they're not. They're not. And once they figure that out, it'll be really interesting. But until they do, we know that. We have to know that. So when we go out and when we resist and when we join with our neighbors to defend our neighborhoods, to protect each other, to make sure that we're fed and we're getting to school, and the ways in which we need to have our lives and be protected in the ongoing nature of our lives, never forget what you're doing. You're resisting on behalf of something you own. It's ours. Never forget. And again, every time I talk about the Constitution and the founders, and then my historian brain kicks in and it's like, well, yeah, think of all the violations and all the people who weren't included. And I'm totally aware of all that. But what I'm saying, in a sense, right now is broader because we're in a moment that demands the broadest possible definition of what is ours. The Constitution is ours. The government is ours. The rights defined by the Bill of Rights, those are our rights, protected against the government as a society, not individually, but as a society. So that's my little, I guess, my pep talk for the night. That's what I've been thinking about all afternoon because of this little thing that flitted by me online. That, warrants, who needs warrants? We're going to do whatever the heck we want. Well, that's part of the Bill of Rights. And people who are saying, "Feh, I don't care about this," they're announcing that they don't care about the very things that make us a nation. They don't care about us. They don't care about anything. And those things are ours. And we get to protect them. We have to protect them. And someday, whenever that day is, that we get past this moment, we are going to need to talk about and think about the ways in which we protect some of these things and maybe how we didn't before. And I, again, also don't have the answer to that. I do know that there are a lot of things that were considered norms. And whenever I say the word norms, I think of Cheers and I think norm. So humor me. But there are a lot of things that are norms that have been violated by Trump term 1 and Trump term 2, that we didn't think about the fact that they were only norms until they were violated. And then we realized, we can't do anything about that. That's not a law. That's been really way back, first term. I remember I did a podcast with two faculty members from the University of Virginia and another person from Johns Hopkins. So the four of us did this podcast together. And the two UVA professors, they had been at one point or another my professors, and I was talking to one of them. So they felt to me like senior guys. And I was talking, even though I already was a Yale professor, but still. So I was talking to one of them and I said, and it felt to me like maybe I was saying something goofy, right? And I said, I never really thought about the number of things that govern us that are just norms, and we never questioned them because people didn't violate them. And all of a sudden, someone's violating them all the time, and you're realizing, wait, that was just a kind of thing we agreed to do. And I said that to him, and he responded by saying, I feel exactly the same way, right? This is a 20th century political historian, more senior than me. And his response to my comment was, yeah, I've never thought about what norms mean in the way that I'm thinking about them now. So, this is not important to the moment, but I will say all kinds of academics are learning all kinds of things about this moment and about things that they've taught about and thought about forever, because when you're living through it, even though the circumstances are different, the times are different, the implications are different, it really changes your understanding of everything you thought you knew before. And I would guarantee any academic that talks about history or government or politics or whatever, they're reshaping their whole way of understanding everything right now. That said, and someone's saying we need to codify norms. Well, yeah, we're going to have to think about that down the road, wherever we come out of this down the road. And yes, someone said where is the comment here? People saw Trump, they didn't see Johnson. Well, right. So, and actually, I do want to say that too, because when you talk about the Constitution and you think about the Constitution, one of the things we've been watching, that old thing, checks and balances, three branches, that idea that we were all taught in school, the basic thing. And now, until possibly the recent past, but we have a Congress, a Republican governed Congress, that largely has surrendered its power as to what Congress is supposed to do as it's written in the Constitution. We have the Supreme Court seemingly just lining up to give the executive branch whatever power it wants. So, even on a broader sense, the Constitution is being pretty fundamentally violated. I do think it's interesting at this moment, and Heather and I mentioned it briefly at some point this morning, you are seeing Republicans suddenly step out of line in Congress. And it might seem totally minor. 6 guys didn't do what they're supposed to do. But if you think about how they have been falling in line, and if you think about the ways in which they're probably afraid of what happens to them if they step out of line, that matters. So there are all kinds of things fracturing. I think the sort of intense sort of bombing influence of this regime, despite the fact that it's here and they're trying to prove to us, they're beating their chest all the time, trying to show us how horrible they are. What they're doing is outraging Americans, joining Americans together, and in any number of different ways, even within Congress, what they are doing is inviting division and fracture among even their own and uniting the people who oppose them. I've said this before. They are empowering, this is a better way to put it. They are empowering their own opposition day by day, hour by hour. That's what they are doing. So anyway, we will overcome. Thank you. And yes, we can make good trouble. You guys are so good. At any rate, that was what I wanted to say tonight, was just to never forget. It sounds very basic, but I just think in this moment, when we're responding all the time to attacks on things, it's easy to forget our ownership of those things, that they're ours. That's what this country is about. It's a country, a constitution grounded on its people. That's what it is. And there are all kinds of people who have violated that, ignored that, picked only certain people to acknowledge and then others to not, toss people out, attack people, marginalize people. Our entire history is characterized by that. But that doesn't change the fact that it's ours. And the degree to which that's true, as I mentioned a moment ago, is the degree to which people who have been marginalized have been able to say, oh no, it's in there. It's supposed to be ours. And that's a strategy that has worked. So anyway, claim your ownership of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Remember that they're not just documents, but they are what make us a people and a nation. They are our legacy. They are our foundation. People who are blindly violating them are telling you that they fundamentally don't give a damn about this nation and what it is. They just want power and money. So remember what is yours. Remember, it is yours. It is all of ours. And remember, there are 1,400 people here tonight. We are all here. You guys are coming here, 1,400 people, because this stuff matters. And just the fact that all these people come and think about this. So here's one of the things. Something just flitted by, and I'm not going to be able to find it because it's going too fast. Here's the thing. All of us collected here in one way or another, in different ways, to different degrees. I'm going to make a big generalization. All of us here love our country. All of the nonsensical, radical left, blah, blah, blah. We love our country. I love my country more than I can say. We all do. We love this country. And that's why we want to stand up for what makes it our country. That's why we are so violated by people who do not love our country for what it is, but want to warp it into being an extreme version of what it should never be. So that unites us too. For regardless of all its faults, I love this country. That is part of why I am here, like at all weird hours, doing what I do. Because whatever I can do in this moment, I'm going to do. And our country is at stake, and we are all at stake, and it matters that you are here. So at any rate, I want to thank you as ever all for being here. It proves when you are here like this, it proves that we are a we. And again, I know I use the word hokey a lot. I realize that's hokey. Some part of me is like really, emotion. I realize I'm being hokey, but you guys being here means something. All of you guys coming here to hear me spout off. This is people coming here because they care about their country. That's what it is. So, salute each other here, because you guys matter. And I love you guys all for being here. I cannot sign off. So there's 3 things I want to do as I sign off. I'm keeping these things sitting in front of me so that I do not forget that we all need our supply of chutzpah, that we all need to be willing to stand up for what is right. And the last thing I want to say, and someone reminded me that I said it a couple days ago, and I've been meaning to have it be part of what I sign off with because it's meaningful to me. I had a dear, dear friend. We were friends for, well over 30 years, a historian. His name was Richard Bernstein, and he was a wonderful historian of the founding era. And he was the person that I would go to all the time. Anything about history, about politics, about anything. Richard was the person I went to. And I always told him he was my calm and sane voice. I would call him and say, I need a calm and sane voice. And he would sort of talk me off the ledge. But at the end of every phone call, he would say, be strong and of good courage. Be strong and of good courage. I didn't know where that was from until a member of my other community, my Friday morning community, I was writing actually a eulogy for my friend, and I asked her to read it. And she said, be strong and of good courage is from the Bible. It's what Moses told Joshua as he was passing off the torch to Joshua to go off into the future and lead the people. Be strong and of good courage, folks. Spread it around. We are strong, and we will be of good courage. I will see you guys soon, and love you guys. Bye.